it is. Innovation theater is when we don't create the conditions for people to jump, to leap, because we haven't made it safe for them to do that. So it looks like people are innovating in meetings, but it's like post-its and it's a lot of meetings and there's not a lot of progress because there's not a lot of experimenting and doing and failing and learning. There's just a lot of meetings after meetings and talking about it without doing it. That's innovation theater. And it happens because in a lot of our companies, we do not reward the behavior that is necessary. For example, we need people to leap. But how many companies can say that when people leap, there is an inflatable, cushy device there to catch them? If we want people to leap, we got to make it safe to do that. So people need to be able to try little experiments. They need to be able to fail. They need to learn. They need to laugh at it. Yeah, laughter is important. And they need to be able to speak up when things aren't right. This is really important. A lot of people ask me about innovation, and they think because people come up with great ideas all the time, that makes them innovative. Well, it makes them incredibly creative, but if we want it to be innovative, we're going to have to put stuff into practice, and we're going to have to make sure that it's allowed. So I have a new keynote. It's called Building the Net, and this is exactly what I talk about and how to do it. From my 20 plus years leading tech teams, building tech teams, spinning out companies, and spending 25 years on comedy stages. So then, Kathy, all right, forget innovation theater. How do we make it better? Well, ironically, the tools that make innovation theater less a possibility come from the stage theater, because that's the real theater we want. That's the theater that matters. Because in comedy, we are actually taking risks. Improv groups, sketch groups, we have each other's backs. Sometimes in sketch, we will have a script. It's a sketch, it's pre-written, and people will ad lib, they'll forget their lines. People break character and start laughing. You've seen it on SNL, and it's hysterical. So joyful and so fun. So we have each other's backs, we move forward. In improv, there's no script. All we're doing is listening to each other's ideas, and then we're yes anding, we're adding on. We're dealing with what's in front of us. And there really is no physical net other than supporting each other. There's a people net. We have each other's backs. And that's really, really important. So in stand-up, we're out there solo, and I'll do jokes that I know work. Sometimes I'm testing new material. And if it doesn't work, I'll go and rewrite it. I'll rewrite it a couple of times. I like the rule of 3 for testing because it's comedy. And if by the third one it isn't hitting, move on to the next joke. If your comedy isn't hitting in stand-up, you might throw the set list away and actually just do crowd work. Some of y'all know crowd work because I think Matt Rife is great at crowd work. There's a lot of people. Jim Gaffigan is king of the tags. He's also pretty good at crowd work. There's some really great comedians who do amazing crowd work. And you can learn a lot about being in the moment and present and innovating. And they're doing it live. So that's what companies need to do, is build the kind of teams where it's safe to take risks. It's safe to fail, small. Define what it is. Have each other's backs. Really important. It's possible. It's doable. Just need to make it a priority. And that very thing makes the difference. And also, we need to have brave thinking spaces for teams and brave conversation spaces. So it's not just about thinking differently. We need to be able to have bold conversations when we think, hey, something isn't going right, something isn't working. One of my favorite stories, and I know you probably remember Google Glass. Over 10 years ago, Google rolled out Google Glass. It was those glasses, wearable technology was supposed to be all the rage, taking over outside of Fitbit, Apple Watch. Everybody had their wearable device. That was supposed to be the thing of the future. And Google Glass rolled it out as a product. They should have rolled it out as a prototype. Even though most innovation theater folks never makes it out of the lab or the meeting, this one got all the way to market, but it didn't do well because there was no need for it. I mean, nobody really needed it. I mean, you'd see people in the store or in a cafe, they'd have in the Bay Area, they'd have their Google glasses on, But they got banned pretty quickly because you could record people without their consent. They were potential privacy issues, all kinds of issues. They never solved those issues. The glasses were like $2,000. They weren't cheap. It wasn't enough to start a market. What they were is a prototype. And they should have said it's a prototype. But they marketed it like it was a real product. But it was a failed product. It was a successful prototype if all they were doing was showcasing their new technology, like a car show. That would have been successful. But I still think it's innovation theater because, unlike most innovation theater, it got out of the lab and made it to market. So maybe people were afraid to speak up. I don't know. That can be hard when, like, Sergey or Larry or somebody's like, "Hey, this is a great idea." It can be hard. So innovation theater isn't the times that we don't innovate. It's also the times where we're afraid to speak up and say, "Hey." And I don't mean being a glass hole. In fact, people who wore Google Glass were called glass holes, which is hysterical because many of them were. There's a lot of tech bros with way too much money and time on their hands, looking cool, trying to look cool, but pissing everybody off. So they were labeled glass holes. Yeah, but somebody has to be, well, we don't like devil's advocacy all the time. There's not always a place every moment for it. We do need the people to be the reality check, though, and say, hey, have we thought of this? Because this is going to be a big problem, and we haven't figured out how to surmount this. It's going to be impediments to us growing a market here. And, it's a very expensive way to do a prototype, still a little bit of innovation theater, even though it got out of the lab. So I hope you enjoy it. There's many ways to think about it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. In your team, just make it safer. Make it safer if you can. I know it's hard to tackle everything at once, like a culture, but in your team, what can you do to make it safer? To try things, to experiment, make it expected, show up, have each other's backs. And humor always matters because if you can't laugh at your mistakes, you will never grow. Because teams that can't laugh together, they can't think together. They can't reframe. They can't pick themselves up and be resilient after failure. And this is really important. Because if you've been following a strategy for, 6 months, a year, I think, and it's not working, people have to be able to laugh and say, it's awkward, but lean into the awkwardness and talk about it. Like, humor isn't the opposite of serious work. It's what happens when the people who are brave enough to tell the truth about their serious work do so. It matters. But far too many companies are promoting innovation performance and innovation theater, and they don't realize it because the status quo is so strong. And I see this a lot. We are killing actual innovation because we're afraid of it and our systems are rigid. We can do something about it. So we need both thinking spaces and we need speaking spaces where people are free to do so, even if it means admitting that the emperor's new clothes look a lot like naked failure. Just don't look at it through Google Glass. All right, everybody. Happy Labor Day. Check out the article below.